So how do you feel that particular type of family structure affects the overall culture and economy of these Caribbean islands?
Well, that's the downside to the way it's been practiced in the Caribbean. In one sense, in the Caribbean, it's well acknowledged that the man is going to have other women, and in many cases, they do come what Dr. Patricia Dixon Spear calls co-partners, meaning the women gather together and they actually create an economy centered around that man and those children, and their own needs are taken care of as well. They help care for one another, the women. On the other end of the spectrum, in the Caribbean, you don't see it en masse where the men are pulling those women together. And as we were stating earlier in the conversation, they're not pulling them together all the time in a family structure, saying, okay, even if we're spread out, we're still going to be a family. We support one another. We live on the same land, live in the same house, live in the same region. You don't really, that's not necessarily the norm, although each woman will acknowledge, yes, her man goes to visit this other woman, and at worst, they tolerate it, okay? At best, it's actually a real solid polygynous marriage where, again, they assist one another in building and maintaining an economy.
Right. I've seen even in the Caribbean, in my own experience, where you'll have situations like that, but it's interesting when it comes to the children. The children are not necessarily shunned from those various women. So you'll have those women who will at least coordinate, to have the children to get together. Or if something happens to one of those women, you'll have one of those women who will take those other children in and adopt them as their own, knowing that they came from a relationship with that man. And, so it's a very interesting dynamic there and I've noticed that more often than not, where mothers have taken in, other women's children. Another very interesting dynamic I found in the Caribbean is that when a man has had a child outside of the marriage, that the woman that he's had the child with, a lot of times let's say if she goes to foreign, she goes to Canada, or she goes to the UK, or she goes to America, the child will then come with the father and his other wife, and that's perfectly fine and acceptable. Yes,
absolutely. In fact, I can confirm that because one of my consorts is half Puerto Rican, she's Crucian, which means she's from St. Croix. So she's half Crucian, half Puerto Rican. My other consort is Haitian. And they have both confirmed that. In fact, both of them come from polygynous families. One of them comes from a family where it's more like the type that you're speaking of. And then my Haitian wife, or my Haitian consort, she explained to me that in Haiti it's common for households to have a maid. And in most cases, the maid actually end up becoming the consort of the man of the house, because obviously you got this woman around there helping build his economy, build and maintain his economy. He's going to want to get it in. Yes, sir. The difference, though, is that you always, if you have a child with a woman, or even if you have sex with a woman there, you keep her. Like, even if the wife, the first wife, doesn't like it, you keep her. So, my Haitian consort, her father had 4 women spread around the island, and 2 of those women were at one point his maids for his house. But he ended up having children with them, and the woman he lived with, she knew about it, and he ended up bringing his whole family, which consisted of a total of 18 people. I'm sorry, 19 was the man, the 4 women, and 14 children. He brought all of them over to the United States, and now he's in his 80s.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And my second consort, her father has, I think, several women, and one of them just passed, in fact. and she was very close to this woman. She was very close. And that was not her biological mother, but she was close to her just the same. We also want to understand that, a lot of times in the Caribbean, it's not accepted by certain women. And what they'll do, they will slur the second, third, fourth woman, etc., by calling her an outside wife, and her children by that man will be called outside children, or she will be called a matey, M-A-T-E-Y.
Right.
And when you call a woman a matey, that just means she's some whore that this man is sleeping with.
Right.
Okay. And it's not good to call a woman an outside wife or call those children call them outside children. In fact, it's the same as in the States when we say that's a bastard child. It's the same thing.
Right. Right.